Welcome to Episode 1, Chapter 1, The End from the Beginning. This is for my new podcast series based on my book, Because I Didn't Want to Go to Prison. In this episode, I will go into what it was like to go into a marriage full of hopes, dreams, and answered prayers, only to live a life of resentment, anger, hatred, and a desire to kill. I'll tell you what it was like to be me and live my life controlled by someone else. It was early on when I knew, not eventually, not years later, I knew in the beginning. There was a moment, small, almost forgettable, when a soft voice inside of me told me that this was not going to work. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it was quiet. And quiet is easy to ignore. He said something, he did something, and my stomach turned. You know the feeling, right? When your body reacts before your brain can explain it? That. But instead of listening, I negotiated. I told myself I was overthinking. I told myself nobody's perfect. I told myself love requires time. I mistook intensity for connection, control for protection. And here's the truth that's hard to admit. The end was already there, built into the foundation. But I wanted a husband. I wanted a father for my children. I wanted a family. I wanted my family. I wanted to be married. So I chose blindness, and that decision would cost me years. This is a story about not only about being naive, this is a story about knowing and ignoring myself. Anyway, this is Chapter 1 in my book, Because I Didn't Want to Go to Prison. Chapter 1, The End from the Beginning. So I have to start with the date, May 23rd, 1999. This was a date that changed everything for me, for the better and for the worse. That day, May 23rd, 1999, was a Sunday, and we had had a party for my youngest son, Robert, who would be turning 12 in a couple of days. It was a normal, beautiful day. My son, his cousins, and several of his little friends were over for the party. When the party ended and everybody left, the cleanup started. Not just the physical cleanup, but the cleanup of my life. My oldest son, Rick, had been at work, and my twin daughters were either outside or in their room dancing or singing or whatever they did. My two younger boys were outside playing football. On the street. For me, it was a turning point. That next day would have been our 14th wedding anniversary, and I was done. I was not having one more happy anniversary. That day, I told him I was done. I told him I want out. And he reacted like he always did. He said the same things that he always said. Go pack your shit and get out. Which I immediately headed up to the room and started packing my shit. I wanted to get out. Only to have him follow me and do what he always did. He blocked the doorway and prevented me from leaving. I told him, he had done this so many times before. I mean, for years he'd done it. He'd block the door for hours and hours on end, up to 8 hours, 10 hours, where he wouldn't let me get out of the room. This day, I told him, I am leaving even if I have to jump out the fucking window. The standoff went off for, I don't know, a couple hours, like it had so many times. He held me prisoner in my own room, but after an hour or so, he called his mom to come and talk to me. She came over only to see the determination in my eyes. She knew that I was done. She told him, déjela ir. Le dije, negro, que se le iba a ir, which means, let her go. I told you, negro, she was going to leave. She told me to leave. She told him to let me leave, and he did. He told me to get the hell out. And I ran out of there with the clothes on my back. Now, I have to take you back to the beginning. This all started with me being a single teenage mom of 3 little ones. My son was 3, my twin daughters were 1 month old. But more on that in the next episode. So I prayed for a husband. I prayed for a husband, one who would love me and take me in with my little babies. And God answered my prayer, or so I thought. When my twin baby girls were 1 month old, I started working at an electronics factory. That's where I met him. He was a production supervisor. I remember the first time I saw him. I thought he was arrogant, but he looked paranoid and he looked like he was trying really hard to do a good job. He almost looked like a kiss-ass to his boss, which he actually kind of was. I was not attracted to him whatsoever. He was tall, dark, and some would say handsome, but to me, I was just not attracted to him. He was not what I was not attracted to him. But I could tell that he liked me. I mean, and who wouldn't, right? Even after my babies were just 1 month old, I was back in my teenage little body. I was wearing my skin-tight jeans and little crop tops. Appropriate for work? Maybe not. And maybe that's why all the women hated me, especially when they realized that he had an eye for me. Which reminds me of the lyrics in the Travis Tritt song, Trouble, that says, the men are gonna love you and the women gonna hate you. And hated me, they did. They hated me so much that they punctured all 4 of my tires in my car, all at the same time. Bitches. Anyway, I was determined to get back at those bitches. They wanted him so bad, and he wanted me. So how would I get my revenge? By getting him. I would get the grand prize. So my job there was as a quality control inspector, which means that I was free to walk about the whole factory. And I wasn't stuck in a production line. So I was able to go everywhere throughout the plant. And so was he, since he was a production supervisor. So I started flirting with him, and he'd flirt back subtly, but we each knew what we were doing. And then we'd accidentally meet at the water cooler. Literally, we'd meet at the water cooler, or he'd come up to my area and ask me to inspect a part or check on parts that had come in or not come in or whatever, just stupid pretext that we would come up with to run into each other. This was August when I started working there. In October, for Halloween, he hosted a Halloween party at his clubhouse at the apartment complex where he lived. And that's when it happened. No, not sex. That's when he told me he was in love with me. He told me he was in a really bad marriage and he was going to leave his wife. So he did. That night, we made plans to move in together, and the following weekend, we moved in together. Yep, I did that. That's when I thought God had answered my prayers. We moved into this really nice complex across town on the west side in El Paso, and we lived there for 2 months. Then he said that we were too far from work and we needed to move closer, so we did. He found another complex that was somewhat closer to the job. Not super, super close, but closer. Red flags? I didn't see them. Those were the first 2 of many moves to come, but more on that later. A couple of months later, we moved again. He said he didn't like the complex, he didn't like the neighbors, so we were moving. And so he went and rented this really nice unit in a quadruplex. In a very nice neighborhood. It was a new neighborhood, everything pretty much was new construction everywhere. And he said that he was going to save money so that we could buy a house. So I remember, I think we moved there in March, and or maybe just in early April. Anyway, April was my son's birthday, so we threw a party for him. And my whole family was there, my cousins, my parents, my siblings, everybody. So I told my cousin that we were going to save up to buy a house. And she said, she was shocked. She's like, how could you be saving to buy a house living here? She said, this is obviously is not cheap. Anyway, she was a little bit older and a lot wiser than I was, obviously. So when we first moved in together, we went furniture shopping, and he furnished the whole apartment. You know, he bought new furniture throughout. New living room furniture, dining room furniture, bedroom furniture, cribs for the girls, bed for my son, everything. Obviously, it was on credit. So when the first payment came due, I reminded him about it, and he said he had already paid it. So I believed him. Why wouldn't I, right? My mom always taught me to pay my bills as quickly as possible, so I thought, oh, maybe he's the same. A few months later, my mom called and told me that the furniture store was calling because the payments had not been made. When I asked him about it, he said the store was wrong, he made the payments, he could prove it, blah, blah, blah. So, again, I believed him. Initially, when we first went into the store to buy the furniture, I had spotted this beautiful bedspread. It said India ink, and it was this gorgeous silk and taffeta bedspread with embroidered doilies. It was just gorgeous. It was $100, and I knew that we couldn't afford it, so I didn't even ask for it. I just said it was beautiful. The next time when he went into the store to make a payment, I waited in the car with the kids, and he came out with this beautiful bedspread wrapped in his arms, not in a bag or a box or anything. So I asked him about it. I said, what'd you do? Did you buy that? I was excited. He said, yeah, I bought it for you. I know how much you loved it. And then, so I said, well, that's weird that they didn't even package it for you or wrap it up or bag it or anything. Oh, no, they were just too busy at the counter, and I didn't want to wait for them to put it in a bag. So I thought, okay, so we had this gorgeous bedspread. By this time, I was a stay-at-home mom. He told me that he didn't want us leaving the kids with sitters or strangers. Because one morning when we took the kids in to the sitter, there were people still, it seemed like left stragglers from the night before, still partying in the kitchen. And smoking pot, so obviously we didn't leave the kids that day. And then he said that he didn't want me to work. He said he made enough money to take care of us and support us all, and that I didn't have to work. Little did I know that back then he was only making $5 an hour. Even back in 1984, $5 an hour was not enough to support a family of 5. But I went ahead and quit my good job anyway as a quality control inspector, making $4.10 an hour. I was making the big bucks too. One evening, when we were driving home from somewhere, maybe dinner or somewhere, we were in my little green AMC Gremlin. It was the only car we had because the only car he and his ex-wife had, she kept. So we're driving down this busy road when the light turned yellow. And we were still quite a ways back, but he floored it. When we came to the intersection, there was a car waiting to turn left in front of us. So we hit on. We hit on almost head on with the car that was turning in front of us. Thank God the kids were okay, but I was pretty banged up. I had a cut in my face, and it was pretty bad. Blood everywhere. So he got out and exchanged information with the other driver, and then got back in the car. So he cranked it up, the car started it up, and he fled the scene. I was freaking out. I'm like, what are you doing? Where are we going? And he just peeled out, threw it in first and took off. And I said, what are you doing? He said, I can't wait for the cops. I have warrants. I'm like, warrants? What the hell are warrants? It's parking warrants. I'm like, I didn't even know what the hell a warrant was. I was that naive. So we drove to his aunt's house, who lived nearby where the accident happened. We called my parents, who came and kept the kids, and I don't know if they drove us to the ER or something, but I had to go to the ER because I needed stitches in my face. The next day, the cops came looking for me. The car was in my name, remember? And he had instructed me to say that I had been the one driving, and that's what I told the officer. So the officer asked me, are you sure? Because everybody else, the witnesses and the other drivers, said that it was a man, 6'2", Hispanic male, 6'2", driving. And I insisted that it was me. So he's like, all right, you want to do this? I got 3 tickets that day. One was for causing causing an accident, fleeing the scene of an accident, and the other one I can't remember. I don't even know if it was for no insurance. We might have not even had insurance at that point, since he was in charge of our finances. Probably not. Maybe that's what it was for. I don't remember. Anyway, so he went and bought us another car. I can't tell you to this day what it was, but it was a big boat. And I'm sure he didn't pay cash for it. I'm sure he bought it at a buy here, pay here lot. Anyway, a couple of weeks later, we were coming back from Mexico, across the bridge, and the minute we got into El Paso, the car caught on fire. And luckily, it was literally directly across the street from the fire station. So they came out, the fighters came out, put out the fire, and we must have called my parents to come and get us to drive us home. My poor parents. I did a lot of bad crap to them. So anyway, the next day he probably went to. Oh, so we abandoned the car right there, right then. I know that we didn't pay for the balance. I'm sure of it. Anyway, so the next day he must have gone to another buy here, pay here lot, because he bought a Ford Granada, 1980 Ford Granada. This car was really nice. I mean, top of the line, leather, everything. It was just a few years old. So, so we were driving down the road in this really nice Ford Granada. So his divorce had been final in May, and we got married a week later. In June, we moved to Evans, Colorado. We were moving there for moral support for his mom, who was going through a divorce. She supported herself and her 2 adult children by selling burritos at construction sites. We moved in with them into a single-wide 12 by 70 trailer. It was us 2, my 3 kids, his mom, his sister, his brother, his brother's girlfriend, and their baby boy. 10 of us. 3 small bedrooms, 1 bathroom. And I was pregnant by then. How did that happen? Well, we know how that happened, but the way that it actually happened was that in March, before I moved in June, I had gone to meet up with my ex, with my daughter's dad, to pick up a child support check. And later that evening, when he got home from work, he interrogated my son, my 3-year-old son, and planted in his head that he saw me kiss my ex, which did not happen. I was on birth control since my daughters were born, but in order to prove my faithfulness to him, in order to show him that I loved him, in order to show him that I was not messing around with anybody else, he made me flush my birth control pills down the garbage disposal. I did that. Smart? I wouldn't call me that. Another red flag missed. One evening, shortly after our move to Colorado, we were sitting outside on the porch enjoying the beautiful evening when a tow truck pulled up. And I saw him get paranoid immediately. I didn't know what was going on. And it was there to repo the Ford Granada. So the tow truck driver was actually really nice, and he let us take out the car seats and the stroller and everything else that we had in the car. So the next day, we went into the Ford dealership in Greeley, Colorado. He had his eye on this brand new Ford Bronco 2. We drove out of there in a brand new Ford Bronco 2. About a week later, the dealership called and wanted us to bring it back. They said we didn't get approved for financing. Back then, they would let you do that. They'd let you drive the car and say, "Oh, go ahead, take it." And they did. We did. So we took the car back, but we also walked into the credit bureau. Again, back then, they actually physically had offices where you could walk in and talk to people. So we walked in, told a lady that showed us our credit report, and it was bad. So she said, well, you know, in El Paso, it was this apartment complex that lease was broken, then another apartment complex, also in El Paso, lease was broken. Then a car was in default, and then another car got repoed. So we told her it wasn't us. We paid our bills. The broken apartment leases, all 3, not us. We live in Colorado. The car that burned and we abandoned, not us. The Ford Granada that got repoed, not us. She believed us and deleted all of the negative information from our report. She gave us good credit. And I want to say, and I want to apologize to everybody that we are, if not a big part of the reason why today we have to have, triple verifications for everything, which is a good thing because of people like us, like I was back then. So this time we went into the GMC dealer and bought a brand new GMC Jimmy. Top of the line, of course. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful vehicle. And I can't even remember how long we had it. Oh, I do remember. So we lived with his mom for 3 months until I gave him an ultimatum. I said, I can't live here. I wanted my own home. I told him we either get our own place or I'm going back home to Texas. He didn't want to move out of his mom's. He said we were comfortable there. My mom likes having us here. I said, well, I don't want to live here. There's too many of us. So we got our own apartment that week. And I should have known then that his picture was in the dictionary under Mama's Boy. He was the epitome of a mama's boy. He wouldn't go one day without seeing his mom, and he would talk to his mom on the phone at minimum 5 times a day through our entire marriage. I'm sure through her entire life. By the way, he had suffered a work injury right before we moved to Colorado, and he was expecting a settlement from his insurance. He had been on workers' comp, and he was expecting a settlement. So he had just gotten a settlement from a car accident that he had been in before we got together. So that's the money that we used to move to Colorado. So that was the first. Oh, well, maybe not the first that I knew of workers' comp claims that he would be on. He would have the first of many that he would come, that we could go get a job, go on workers' comp, live off of the settlement, repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. He did have a job, though, when we moved into our apartment, but not for long. He did have another work injury and ended up on workers' comp. This first year was laying out the groundwork of what was to come. Fast forward 15 years. I was stuck in a marriage where I was told what to do, what not to do, where to go, where not to go, how to dress, what not to wear, who to talk to, who not to talk to. Not even to my family, not even to my mom. I couldn't get on the phone and talk to my mom without him listening in on the other phone just to make sure that I wasn't talking shit about him. The last 5 years we were together 24/7. 24/7 for 5 years. We'd go to work. We worked together, so we'd go to work together, drop off the kids at school, go to work, pick up the kids, go to football practice or basketball practice or baseball practice or whatever it was, together 24/7. So he had been working in a new construction development, new homes development, and he was finishing up just the final touches. He was doing interior trim and just whatever punch list items that were needed in each house. So he made me go with him so that he wouldn't be at work alone all day and I wouldn't be home alone all day. Although I was homeschooling my son at that time. So the two of us would go to work with him. We'd go work construction. I remember the first time that, I think it was the first time that I went to help him, he was installing microwaves. So it took us about 6 hours to install the first microwave because we didn't know what the hell we were doing. My son and I still laugh about that. But it was a win-win for all of us, right? So during my time there, working for free, I met a homeowner in the community there. And she asked if I knew anybody who cleaned houses. And I told her, hey, I'm out here working for free. I'll clean your house. So I started cleaning her house. But he said, well, let's go clean her house together. That way we get done quicker. So we'd go clean it during our lunch hour. And then, we'd go back to work. Soon after that, I was cleaning her office building and her co-workers' homes because it was a company that had relocated here from Florida. So there were probably, I don't know, 10 people in the office, and they had an executive house and then each of the homeowners' houses. So we were cleaning everybody's house on a different day during lunch. So eventually, I mean, soon, shortly after, he quit his job, and we worked cleaning houses and new construction for the next 5 years. 5 fucking years, 24/7. And still, he accused me of cheating on him all the time. The last 5 years of the marriage, I was angry, resentful, empty, worthless, and pissed. My poor kids had to witness the verbal and the physical abuse, the yelling, the screaming, the fighting, the scheming, the scamming. It was bad. I wish they had had a normal, happy childhood like I did. And they were happy. I mean, other than the screaming and the fighting and the punching and the beatings, they were happy. It was normal for them. I do have to say, he was 6'2" and a quarter and up to 250 pounds at some points, but I never backed down from him. Ever. I would kick, punch, bite, scratch, whatever the hell I had to do, but I never backed down. Just like Tom Petty, no, I won't back down. So everything about me was controlled by him. My hairstyle, if you can call it that, my clothes, my glasses. I couldn't believe how I let somebody control my life that way. So I became defiant and I became rebellious. Towards the end of those 5 years, I started growing my hair. I wore better fitting clothes because before I had to wear clothes that were 3 sizes bigger than what I needed. I wore makeup, I wore jewelry, and I even wore contacts. I wasn't allowed to wear contacts because he said that all I wanted was to wear sunglasses so that I could look cool. And of course I did. So that day, May 23rd, 1999, I had it. I was determined to leave. I knew that if I stayed, one of us was going to die, and I didn't want to go to prison. That afternoon, after he called his mom and she told him to let me go, I ran out. I ran out with the clothes I was wearing. It was early evening by then, and the kids were still outside. So I got into my van, and I told the kids to get in. They asked me where I was going, and I told them I didn't know, but I was leaving now. They knew that this day was coming because they always sided with me when he would say, I didn't hit them. Did I hit them, kids? I didn't hit you. Did I, boys? Did I, kids? And they would say, yeah, you did, Dad. Oh, you shut up, you little liars. That's what he would always say to them. So they knew this day was coming. And I told them that I was leaving now. They begged, they pleaded with me not to go. But I had to go. I couldn't stay anymore. I couldn't. As I drove away, I could see them in my rearview mirror, crying and calling for me. But I couldn't come back. I saw them. It's something that I'll never forget. Seeing my children crying and calling for me. Besides, I wasn't leaving them. I knew that I would see them again. I was just leaving him. I wasn't leaving my kids. I wasn't disappearing from their lives. So that night, I spent the night in my van in the parking lot, probably at the Walmart or the grocery store. I can't even remember. And I filed for divorce the next day. I said that I knew from the beginning. What I didn't know what was the cost of ignoring myself would be. It cost me a lot to leave that day. And I'll go into that in future episodes. But although we had all the chaos and all the horrible stuff, it doesn't start with chaos. It starts with compromise. And I compromised a lot. I compromised my happiness for peace in the house. One small override, one rationalization. It's probably fine. And then you build a life on top of something your spirit had already rejected. That's the part that nobody talks about. We talk about the explosion, we talk about the divorce, we talk about the damage that it causes everybody, not just me, not just him, kids, everybody. We don't talk about the moment that we abandoned ourselves. The end doesn't sneak up on you. It whispers at first, and if you don't listen, it eventually screams, "Get the fuck out!" I remember our pastor sent us to marriage counseling once, and as much as he didn't want to agree to this, we went, and then the counselor said she wanted to see each of us individually, so she saw me first. And when I told her everything that I was going through, she was like, "Get out. You need to get out right now." And this was a Christian coach, and the pastor paid for it because we never had any money. This was back in the early 90s, or maybe even the late 80s, I don't remember. But sometimes you have to listen and get out. Chapter 1 in my book taught me something that I now coach to people. Your intuition does not need evidence. It needs obedience. I knew, and I'm sure you know, or you knew. In the next episode, I will tell you what it cost me not to listen. And speaking of listening, thank you. Thank you for listening. And I appreciate your support. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. God bless you.